You know those movies that you always go back to and watch over and over, time and time again? Whether it be because you grew up on them or just because you watched them and they happen to pierce your soul and now it's with you forever and you will always cherish those movies as much as like your firstborn child. In other words, comfort movies, movies that just kind of stick with you as a person. Today I'm going to be talking about my personal favorite comfort movies, movies that have traversed, thick and thin with me, movies that I've watched. Some of these I've watched over 10 times. But yeah, let's just get into this. There's range. I'd say there's range. So, first and foremost, this is the first movie that I thought of when I thought of this video idea. Cinderella Story. No, a Cinderella Story specifically. Can't forget the A. And we're not talking about another Cinderella story. We're not talking about a Cinderella story once upon a song, nor am I talking about a Cinderella story if the shoe fits, or a Cinderella story Christmas Wish, or a Cinderella story Starstruck. There's so many different iterations of the same movie, but the one that will always hold its place in, I think, all of our hearts unanimously is A Cinderella Story, the 2004 banger of a film with Hilary Duff, Chad Michael Murray, Jennifer Coolidge as Fiona, amongst many other people. Regina King, too, legend, queen. This film is weird. It's low-key weird and kind of quirky. The twin sisters were great. They did such a good job, and Hilary Duff was my queen growing up. She literally, raised me, aside from my own flesh and blood mother. Hilary Duff was right next in line. And can't forget about Chad Michael Murray. I had a very chronic obsession with him growing up, and then he went on to do One Tree Hill, and I was like, oh my god, he had my entire heart growing up. He's great. Fun little story time. I actually saw the guy who played Sam Montgomery, which was Hilary Duff's character. I saw the guy who played her best friend in real life, and my brain had to do math equations because obviously people age. This movie was released in 2004, so he obviously looks like a full-grown adult now. But I saw him and he looked so familiar, and I was like, wait, that, those features, computing. This dude was in a Cinderella Story, my favorite childhood movie, one of my favorite childhood movies. Oh my god, just a little flex moment, but yeah. Anyways, on to the next movie. Speaking of Hilary Duff, Lizzie McGuire movie. Come on. Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff, etc. was my queen again. And I stayed up with her music too. I was a full-on stan. This film emanated such, it girl going on vacation, finding, yourself and your passions, and such elite vibes. I remember when I was, super young, when this movie came out. I was, 6 or 7 when this film came out. So I had a little karaoke machine, and the one and only CD that I kept on repeat was the Lizzie McGuire sing along soundtrack. And I had my little mic, I think this is when I discovered I liked music, maybe. Oh my god, this is unraveling so much about me. But yeah, I was just screaming, shouting, singing in front of the TV with Lizzie. Also, now that I think about it, what junior high takes trips like this? This is some rich people stuff we're talking about here. They went to Rome. These are children. Junior high, what is that? 8th grade? 7th, 8th grade, I think. You're 13, 14. What? No, that can't be. I must be doing the math wrong here. Shout out Gordo, Lizzie Gordo. They're my first OTP probably growing up, before I even knew what that meant. Next on the roster is, going on this Disney movie rampage, High School Musical. Specifically High School Musical 1 and 2. Depends on the vibe we're going for. If you want a more wintry, getting back from winter break vibes, then stick with 1. If you want more summer vibes, obviously, gotta go for number 2. The grip that these soundtracks had on me as a child. I would literally just bump to the instrumental and sing my heart out. These are some other films that really shaped me as a young singer. And do you guys remember when they had the sing-along special on Disney Channel? I so tuned in for that. You have to, you gotta, you can't miss that. I thought it was really quirky how in the first movie half or all of Zac Efron's singing was done by not even him. Most of Zac's lines were actually dubbed by this guy named Drew Seeley. If you hear like Zac singing in, or Troy Bolton, if you hear Troy singing in like Start of Something New, and then if you listen to like Get Your Head in the Game, it's two completely different voices, and it's just trivia at this point. But Zac could sing, like he can sing pretty good. So I wonder why they did that. If they were gonna dub Zac's voice, like they should have just done everything with using Drew Seeley. Okay, so right now I'm on IMDb trivia for High School Musical. I'm reading here. The reason for this dubbing is because Efron's natural voice was too low for that of a tenor, and the producers wanted a tenor to match the role. Efron did, however, do all of his own singing in the sequels, as all the music in those films had been tailored specifically for his voice. There you go. Super interesting. Moving onwards, continuing this Disney Channel rampage, is Cheetah Girls. Specifically Cheetah Girls 2. I love number 1, Don't Get It Twisted. Love that movie. But I had Cheetah Girls 2 recorded on my TV when I was a kid. So after school, literally every day I would come home, drop my backpack, take my hair out of its ponytail, and literally sing along to every song on the soundtrack. Danced, went all out, what's her name? Belinda, I think? Belinda, yes. Oh my god. She was everything to me. Obviously the Cheetah Girls are like the main characters, but like I loved Belinda in this. That's her IRL stage name, I guess. In the movie, her name is Marisol. They go to Spain, and it's like this whole adventure of like a lifetime, and they're just like living their best life as like pop stars who are best friends. So it's just like this really like cool experience that they're going through, and yeah, we love them. Next up on the list, this is a movie that I've watched so many times. Don't worry, it's not another Disney movie. School of Rock. School of Rock was such an interesting movie to me growing up. Having kind of a look into specifically like small time rock in that scene, like kind of the back end of it all was really cool to see and learn about. It's funny because like I watched this movie as a kid, and I guess like my parents just thought, oh, like there's a whole bunch of kids, so this must be a kid movie. But looking back, like the movie was actually pretty bleak, and it wasn't like really a movie for kids now that I'm like remembering it. So that's interesting. Shout out to that soundtrack though. The songs they made were like such bops. And these kids actually, from what I remember, if they didn't already know it before, like they trained to play these instruments. It's like people taking on roles where the character has a specific skill set, and like the actor having to train and leading up to that moment. But like these are kids we're talking about, so that's really impressive. But yeah, School of Rock, love that movie. Love Jack Black too, so good. Next up is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. So I actually rewatched this movie the other day, and growing up I always loved this movie, but I never really like fully paid attention to what these people were saying. I just kind of looked at it like, haha, like we're just a whole like a group of hipsters in a band, and like we're quirky. But the other day when I rewatched it, I was like actually listening, and first of all, the humor is just so good. I love it. And also like Scott is like not a perfect protagonist dude. He's actually kind of an asshole, which is really cool now in retrospect because there's that character development. But yeah, that movie just always was and always will be like such a good time. Next thing is 10 Things I Hate About You. Oh my god. I discovered it when I was like a teenager. I thought it would just be like another teen rom-com, which it is, but I really like the character development. I love the two leads, Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger. Oh my god. And like love Julia Stiles in this movie. She's so good. But yeah, they were perfect for each other in my opinion. Everything is just so well crafted and smart, Also shout out young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He's a baby here. So iconic in every way, and it's so unapologetic as well. It has my heart. It has my complete heart. Next up on the list, we have my favorite movie of all time, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So this movie is definitely not just like a mindless movie. It's definitely a very smart movie. I know it front to back, so it's become like a comfort movie for me. Just everything about the love story and the regret of it all and the hope at the end of the movie and like the sci-fi aspects of it, like everything. The casting, oh my god, this cast is perfect. Jim Carrey as like this serious dude, he does so well as Joel. Kate Winslet, she's one of the OG like Manny Pixie Dream girls. Kirsten Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, you know, all these great actors. This movie is definitely a third romance and drama, a third sci-fi, and like a third art. I think that's also why I love it so much, is because it manages to do so much so well. Every moment of the movie just feels so good to me, so that's why it's become such a comfort movie. Next up is My Neighbor Totoro. Just such a cute movie in general. Wholesome. For me personally, probably the most comforting out of all Miyazaki films. Next up is Lost in Translation. This is also one of my favorite movies. The vibes are off the charts. If you have any doubts about yourself or are just going through a rough patch, or are in the process of finding yourself, watch this movie, soak it in. I think this is my favorite Sofia Coppola movie, right alongside Virgin Suicides. So great. These last two are kind of a joke, but definitely not jokes at all. Like, these are movies that I grew up on and I would definitely rewatch. It's just like, it's so campy. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, yes. The movie. So I didn't really watch the show. I know Power Rangers had like so many different like iterations within the franchise, but specifically I believe the 80s Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with Dr. Ooze. With Ivan Ooze. Yeah, I'm looking here. The movie came out in 1995. I definitely thought it was in the 80s as a kid. I think it's just like the energy of like the skydiving scene and like the roller skating scene. I totally thought it was in the 80s. But yeah, this movie is just so great. So much energy. Ivan Ooze, he was my favorite villain growing up. Obviously, you know, his plan is causing destruction and this and that. But like, I just can't help but love villains at times when the actor plays the role so well. And it's just like the drama of it all, you know, the theatrics. But yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a comfort movie of mine. I need to watch it soon again. I need to remember the glory. And last but not least, probably the campiest movie on this entire list, and a movie that did terrible. I did some research a few years back and like supposedly it was a pretty bad movie, but a comfort movie of mine nonetheless. The live action Super Mario Bros. Movie. Hear me out, alright? So first of all, Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo. Did I pronounce that right? I've never said his name out loud, so yeah, pardon. They just did such, in my opinion, they did such a good job at playing Mario and Luigi. This was probably my first cyberpunk experience. They go into that alternate dimension and everything is like over the top, metal, goth, colorful, like so much going on. And as a kid, I loved that aesthetic for some reason. The movie in general is just very, very campy and quirky and imperfect in a lot of ways. And like the Goombas were so funny. When that one was like playing a harmonica, it was just like animatronic, like practical effects that they used for the character design. But yeah, there's a lot of quirks to this movie that I fell in love with as a kid. It was also another movie that was recorded on my TV, so I watched it all the time. I wouldn't say every day, but I did watch it a lot. Same with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. It's a good time. It's a good time. So anyways, yeah, that's my comfort movie list. Let me know what movies you guys watched as a kid that became comfort movies, or movies that you've discovered recently that have become that for you, that you just kind of want to rewatch. But yeah, this was fun. I had a chance to like go back to my childhood for a minute, you know, doing this research and whatnot. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you on the next one.